remember that one. So, good evening, and welcome to a public hearing to discuss the JBAD transgender and gender non-conforming policy. I'd like to begin by having you all rise, and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you could also join me in silencing your cell phones. And if you want to join me in taking off your suit coat, you can. It's a little stuffy in here. My name is Clark Thing, and I am the Town and School District Moderator for Candia, and I'll be serving as your moderator this evening. I also have had at least one child in Moore School for the last 17 years. Tonight's hearing was posted for 1.5 hours. However, the school board has decided to extend it to a full 2 hours. Our ending time will be 8 p.m. The hearing is being held by unanimous vote of the school board in their May meeting in a direct response to a school district warrant article number 5, presented to the town in our March election. The results of that article being 518 to 335 in favor of a public hearing to discuss the aforementioned school policy. By law, that vote is advisory only in nature and does not compel or mandate the school to hold tonight's public hearing. The purpose of the hearing is for the school board to gather more information from residents and others about their views and opinions on the current JBAD policy. To that end, the JBAD policy will be the only topic discussed this evening. No other school issues will be discussed. The board members will not be offering their personal viewpoints or positions on the JBAD policy. They will be gathering information and will have a board-only deliberation on the policy at their next school board meeting, which is June 8th. What time does that meeting start? 6 p.m. It's 6 o'clock. Full information. However, this evening they will be providing factual information if requested. An example of a factual question would be, is Moore School the only school in New Hampshire that has this type of policy? The guidelines for this evening's hearing were established by a consensus of the school board, and some are different than what you've become accustomed to from our town and school district deliberative sessions. This evening, Candia residents will be recognized to speak first. There's time remaining after all the residents have had an opportunity to speak. The moderator will allow comments and opinions from non-residents. There are a few exceptions to this guideline, and they include comments from School District Superintendent Dr. Phil Littlefield, Moore School Principal Dr. Robert St. Cyr, and Candia Police Chief Mike McGillen. After being recognized, each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak with the school board. Please begin by stating your name and address. The speaker will be advised at the 1.5-minute mark, halfway, that they're halfway through their allotted time. And then again at the 30-second remaining mark, the moderator will ask you to begin to conclude your statement. At 3 minutes, the moderator will ask you to step away from the microphone. Our time is limited, and the school board wishes to hear as many viewpoints as possible. There's no doubt that the policy is viewed passionately by many here this evening. However, your moderator will ask you to refrain from all catcalls, heckling, or booing a person whose viewpoints you may not agree with. Applause supporting the position will be allowed. Public speaking is difficult for many, and we can all use a little support. If you find public speaking to be too overwhelming this evening, you're welcome to write your question down along with your name and address, and the moderator will read it aloud for you. Resident questions will be read first. Non-resident questions will be read after the last residents had their opportunity to speak. Now, my second grade teacher at Newport Elementary School, Ms. Andreessen, introduced me to the golden rule. Treat others as you would like to be treated. Let's try to remember that rule this evening. The person next to you may not have the same political position as you. However, they may be your neighbor, or their children might play in the same sports that your child plays in. Now, perhaps you see each other at the recycling center, but none of you would be here tonight if you didn't care. We all need to work together to provide the best school, the best town that we can for all. Copies of the policy are available up here at the table. The moderator will reserve the right to ask anyone who cannot abide by these guidelines to leave the hearing this evening. And finally, we are all human and we all make mistakes. If an error is made, give that person a moment to collect themselves and correct themselves, be it speaker, board member, or most especially the moderator.
As presented by the moderator. All those in favor?
Thank you. You're certified. Let's begin. Is there a Candia resident who would care to speak? Please.
My name is Sandra Minnick. I live on Brown Road, and I'm a former Candia School Board member. Policy JBAB sets out to protect transgender and gender non-conforming students. But what about students following their birth sexual assignment? This situation can be traumatizing to them too, when they know or suspect a student of the opposite sex is in their bathroom or locker room for physical education or sports. The policy never mentions them nor defines birth sexual assignment students. I think the policy needs to be withdrawn and rewritten with a broader scope of all the students and their sexual identities. I feel the school needs to have bathroom stalls with floor-to-ceiling walls and doors like I have seen and used in Europe. This will allow comfort for all types of students and the public when they are using the building for meetings. Finally, parents should never be denied information about their children or their children's environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Please just start right.
Good evening, Mike Chalbeck, Woodland Road, Candia, New Hampshire. I'd like to see the JBAB policy repealed. I am respectfully asking the school board to do that. I feel that this is a policy of segregation, where we're giving rights to one separate group of children and not all of the children. As I've gone to school here, and my kids have gone to school here, there are no locker rooms. You change in the bathrooms to go to the gym or go to play sports. It is, to me, immoral and unethical to expect that a child of another gender can walk into a bathroom and observe other children change. So, under these conditions, I am asking for that to be repealed. Thank you.
Who would like to speak next? So if it's more helpful to move this hearing along, if you feel that you want to be speaking, you want to queue up kind of in the back of the room, we may make more time and more opportunity for people to speak this evening.
Hi, my name is Sarah Bond. I live on Chester Road in Candia. My husband grew up in Candia and attended before school as a child. I am an attorney and we are the parents of 5 young children, 2 of which are elementary age. I also have a background in health education. I'm here today because I'm expressing a deep concern as the policy as it stands. There's numerous reasons why I'd like to express my concern. The first point that I'd like to make is that there was in the previous board meeting, there were one issue that was raised by several people, and that was that eventually we are going to be required by the federal government to enact this policy. So we should do it sooner rather than later. With the current administration, the Justice Department issued on February 22nd, 2017, and stated that there was insufficient legal analysis for implementing regulations against discrimination on the basis of sex, required access to sex-segregated facilities on the basis of gender identity rather than biological sex. So basically, there's no reason why we're going to lose federal funding. It's not immediate currently. We also, another point I would like to make is that due to the recent appointment also of the Supreme Court, there was a majority opinion that if such a case did go to the Supreme Court, the court would vote in favor of the school districts.
Halfway.
So that was the first point. Also, there were several cases that had come down in different states that had completely different fact patterns, such as the child was in high school or emancipated. And therefore, I do not believe that New Hampshire would be in any particular problem to be issuing we would not have loss of federal funding. So also this policy violates the 14th Amendment right of parents due to parents not being able to have knowledge of their kids identifying a specific way, especially where it's viewed by many in the medical community as a medical issue as opposed to something that the child is born with. So it needs to be treated as such. Also, modern science does not support elementary age children being assigned a new gender. There are several
30 seconds.
There are several studies that show that there's an increase in suicide rates, and they have also existing medical problems such as depression, phobias, and adjustment. And the last point I would like to make is that 1 in every 10 children are sexually assaulted, and 1 out of 7 sexual assaults happen during the school day by other juveniles. I believe this policy would create an opportunity for sexual assault where there's no way to figure out the sincerity.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Candia School Board. I live on Merrill Road. My husband and I try to instill our children with the value that all people should be treated equally. With that being said, the JBAB Candia policy ensures the equal treatment and privacy of people with gender dysphoria while providing access to a private bathroom for anyone, transgender or not, who are uncomfortable using the regular ones. I fully support this policy as written and see no merit in or evidence to support the hypothetical child safety issues being presented by the opposing view.
I live on Main Street in Candia, and I'd like to state that I completely and fully support this policy.
My name is Sharon DeWitt. I live at 60 Highland Street, Candia, and I would like to state that I fully support this policy as written and urge you to not repeal or replace this policy.
Patel, I live on North Road. I'm destroying your mic. Sorry. I would like you to repeal this policy. I'm a parent of 3 children who went through my school. Thank you. And I'm a clinical social worker for many years. And I, most importantly, am the parent of a child who had special bathroom needs who went through the school, and the staff handled it appropriately, without inconveniencing any other children, not making anything of it, and it was handled discreetly, and I think that could happen in this case as well, without making other students uncomfortable. Thank you.
Darcy Donkier, Douglas Drive. I have lived in Candia for 11 years, and we have 3 children attending Henry Moore. I believe all children should be able to access public education without the fear of discrimination and free from harassment. My husband and I are raising our children with the belief that we are all different and should be treated with respect and dignity. It is in my opinion that the transgender and gender non-conforming policy was adopted with great haste. The urgency may have seemed necessary to some due to the possibility of legal action. The policy is very vague, and there are many concerns that have not been addressed. When the community voted in March, they sent a clear message that they are not happy with the decision the board made last year. What about a child who has suffered sexual abuse, wondering if the student in the next stall is transgender? What about the curious youngster asking questions at school or at home? What about the confused parent tactfully trying to explain the meaning of this without compromising their values and teachings of their faith? This is a very complex issue that will be affecting more than just the students, whom the policy was written for. More time and consideration should have been taken writing this policy. I am not sure if I have a solution that would satisfy everyone,
Halfway.
possibly single bathrooms for all. I would like to see the policy in the least revised. I just want what's best for my children. The worry it has caused me for our kids has been very stressful at times. All children, including mine, should feel safe and comfortable at public school. I guess really the only way to come together as a community is to compromise by revising the policy, particularly the policy section 3, letters E and F regarding bathrooms and locker rooms. Thank you.
Chris Royer, I speak Candia. For the record, I'm in favor of this policy. My understanding, this policy addresses issues specific to kids aged kindergarten through 8th grade, that there are other policies in place that prevent adults from using bathrooms and other school facilities that are designated as specific to those students, and that this policy in no way supersedes or compromises those policies. It's also my understanding that this policy was put in place to provide some legal protection for the school, to help protect the personal privacy of our students and their families, to ensure that all of our students are provided a safe, accessible learning environment, and to provide clear direction to the staff on how to handle situations regarding gender identity. I believe the policy does just that. However, after hearing a number of people speak about the policy over the last year, there are a few things I think could be changed to help clarify its intent. So I'd like to suggest the following 3 changes. In section 3A, privacy, the 4th sentence reads, school personnel should not disclose information that may reveal a student's transgender status or gender non-conforming presentation to others, including parents. ... I believe as currently written, this could be and has been misinterpreted to mean the staff shouldn't tell parents about gender issues that may be present with their own children. So I ask that this be changed to school personnel should not disclose information that may reveal a student's transgender status or gender non-conforming presentation to anyone other than that student's parents or legal guardians. The next change I'm suggesting in section 3E and 3F, please provide a clearer definition of what consistently asserted at school means. I don't have a specific suggestion as a non-expert, but I would like the definition to be in line with the current relevant social, psychological, and biological definitions regarding this. The intent of this change is to ensure that no matter how unlikely the scenario, no student can try to take advantage of this policy for something other than what the policy was intended for. And the final change in section 3J, the first sentence reads, is the responsibility of each school and the school district to ensure that transgender and gender non-conforming students have a safe school environment. Since it's a
30 seconds.
This is the end. Since it's a responsibility is to provide all students with a safe school environment, I'd like the sentence changed to it is the responsibility of each school and the district to ensure that all students, including transgender and gender non-conforming students, have a safe school environment. Thank you.
And I'm going to be redundant. I'm specifically talking about JBAB Section 3, titled Guidance. Quote, school personnel should not disclose information that may reveal a student's transgender status or gender non-conforming presentation to others, including, my emphasis, parents and other school personnel, unless legally required to do so, or unless the student has authorized such disclosure. This paragraph protects the rights of the student to maintain privacy, which all students should be afforded for sensitive information. However, the phrasing is ambiguous in regards to the word parents. as it does not specify which parents are indicated. Other parents, the parents of the transgender child, or both. In the following sentence, quote, "The transgender or gender non-conforming student has the right to discuss and express their gender identity and expression openly, and to decide when, with whom, and how much to share private information." This leaves open the possibility that sensitive information may be kept from the parents of the child. Considering the age bracket of our student body, I would suggest it would be more appropriate for the student and parents or guardians to be making those decisions in tandem. The next paragraph, quote, "When contacting the parent or guardian of a transgender or gender non-conforming student, school personnel should use the student's legal name and the pronoun corresponding to the student's gender assigned at birth, unless the student, comma, parent, comma, or guardian has specified otherwise." Again, this paragraph leaves open the possibility that information may be withheld from the parents of the child, given the use of the word "or" in the series rather than "and." Given this wording, if the child decides not to share this information with his or her parents, the school is then obligated to use the pronoun or name assigned at birth when communicating with those same parents. This opens the possibility of sensitive information being withheld from the family and may put school personnel in the position of being obligated to intentionally withhold information from the parents of a child struggling with a heavy psychosocial burden. However remote the possibility, given the professionalism of our school, with an issue that is this sensitive and potentially life-changing, parental rights must be protected and upheld. If the board chooses to maintain the policy, I would recommend that you closely review the language to ensure both the privacy of our students and the rights of parents to be informed of sensitive information is maintained. Thank you.
From North Road. I am in support of the policy. Just this week, the Federal Court of Appeals ruled that a transgendered girl could use the girls' room, and if not, schools could be held liable for Title IX. I think that the policy not only protects the school, but also the community for liability and lawsuit, and it gives guidance to the teachers and students on what needs to happen. So whether we have the policy or not, am I correct in that all things in the policy need to be adhered to, whether the policy is in place? Is that correct?
That is a factual question. Would someone care to field that? Or are we not prepared for that?
Repeat the question.
If the policy is repealed, do all the things in the policy need to be upheld in school for a transgender child?
Policy.
Correct.
Administration makes decisions. Administration will make decisions that are based upon legal counsel and things that were in place and guidelines that were in place.
Okay. So based on what the law looks like today and the appeals court that happened this week, all the things in the policy would have to be adhered to.
I don't know that we have any attorneys up here.
Yeah, I want to be careful. The appeals court in another jurisdiction is not binding on us. It's suggested to our codes, but it's not binding. Each district is bound by the decision that's courts in its district. So it provides some guidance, but it can't be interpreted as being.
Okay.
Is that satisfactory, Jody?
It is. Thank you.
Additional viewpoints.
Todd Keating, North Road, in an effort to save paper, I'm going to read my letter from my phone that you guys all received. I'm writing to inform the board where I stand in regards to JBA policy and why. It's pretty clear at this point that I am in favor to maintain the policy as is and not repeal. The reasons really have not changed since the first time that we went through this the first time, which is just another reason why this hearing is a complete waste of my time and yours. The first time I heard about this policy was actually right here in this very gym, where a fellow resident had told me about the bad things that would happen to my girls in the war school. For the record, I have three kids, 2 girls. I'm sure that we can all use our imagination as to what those bad things are. At first, I was a little shocked, talk about hearing about policy and taking it to the extreme, but that's exactly what this person had done. I was also a little surprised that my boy was apparently safe. It was just the girls that had anything to fear. So what I did, and I hope everyone would do, I went home and I started to educate myself on the topic in this policy. The first fact that was debunked in no time: our kids are in no harm. The facts will actually clearly show you that the kids in harm are the transgender kids. Did you know that 75% of transgender kids feel unsafe at schools? It's pretty astonishing. So I challenged opposition to this policy with that exact fact. While I can understand how some people can claim that this policy could create an uncomfortable situation in our restroom, although I see it entirely differently, the facts show that this protects transgender children and causes no harm to non-transgender kids. Did you know that there are zero, same fact that I shared with the board before, 0 instances of a transgender child harming a non-transgender child in a restroom? Hard to use the safety as a fear-mongering technique when you can clearly state that there is nothing to fear. So apparently the boys are safe after all, but so are the girls. I also learned that Candia really is on trend with our surrounding towns when it comes to transgender policies, except we seem to cause much more of a stir. These public hearings are exactly where we create a stir. I need the stir. When this policy was adopted, the opposition screamed from the rooftops how their voice was not heard. I'm writing to you to read my thoughts, and will let you hear my voice tonight. But my fear is that this will do nothing to persuade anyone. I would love our school board to let the residents know that 16 towns have already adopted transgender policies, and we are being progressive. Some of these surrounding towns are Epping, Hooksett, Durham, Northwood, Oyster River, Portsmouth, Concord, and Londonderry. Some are in our SAU, hopefully more sooner than later. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julie Lee. I live in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I came to...
Would you mind, one moment please, do we have any other Candia residents that want to speak? So you may have heard at the beginning of one of our guidelines where the residents speak first. Certainly I will let you know when it's time for non-residents to speak. And thank you for working with me on the guidelines. Candia resident? I don't know all of you. I know most of you, but right ahead.
Hi, Kelly Lavery, Main Street. I've lived in Candia now a few years. My husband was raised in Candia. My youngest is in 5th grade here, and she'll be the 7th Lavery to graduate more school. And I'm very proud of that, very proud of that. I love this school. I love how involved the teachers, the principals, the staff, everybody is. I'm not somebody who's always attended my kids' school board meetings. However, I did last year, and I'm doing it again this year, follow up. And one of my biggest concerns last year, and one of the things that hurts me the most, I think, is just the division and what happened in this town. And I think mostly because people don't understand, and they don't want to take the chance to hear somebody else and understand what they're coming from. One of my biggest concerns last year was I have zero prejudice against anybody. I never have. My children are raised that way, and I never will, neither will they. One of my biggest concerns was throwing this into small town Candia, New Hampshire, and starting it here. It's new to everybody. It's new to most of us, new to most of you guys, faculty. What is going to be in place? What type of protection can you guys provide if we did keep this policy intact? what type of training would the teachers, would the counselors have? Because the parents definitely wouldn't get the same training and counseling to be able to discuss that with their kids when they have questions. The suicide rate with transgender children and adults is mostly due to rejection, discrimination, and violence and harassment. Where are we going to be able to talk to our kids? Because kids are going to be kids and we're not with them 24/7. How are we going to make it to where if we did adopt this policy, kept it as is, how are we going to protect the transgender kids from this continuing to happen if we're not knowledgeable ourselves? I think that we need a little bit more time, a little bit more discussion with it. I think on paper it looks great that the transgender child would be protected. However, I think a lot would have to go into that. And I would like to know what types of lessons, what types of training would go into that to back that statement up. I am for the policy. However, I am for revising it because I think that a lot of us really agree when it comes down to certain things. However, we're not coming together and we're not discussing it to see that we are in agreement on certain things. And that's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Any other Candia residents that were here to speak?
Jay Lyman, 533 High Street, Candia. Like many others, don't agree with the way the current policy is written in regards to the privacy section. School personnel should not disclose information to the child's parents, as well as the restroom and locker rooms being shared. Also, too, as well as overnight accommodations for school trips that we can put in place. So,
Thank you.
Hello, Claire Keating, I live in North Road, and I would like to follow up my husband Todd's comments that I support this policy in full, and I urge you, please do not repeal it.
Hi, I'm Tom St. Martin from Corridor Road. I have sent in some written information to you all. I believe two, or at least one of our local pediatricians has also sent in written testimony to you. My position is basically that I think the policy is fine as it is. I've reviewed it, and while I understand some of the concerns about it, I think it's okay as it is. That being said, having been a state rep, I understand that frequently legislation gets written and needs to be tweaked. Maybe it wasn't perfect the first time through. I particularly liked the suggestions by Mr. Lawyer, I believe it was. Very specific, and I think they addressed all the concerns that I've heard. The one thing that I would suggest is under no circumstances should the board adopt the biologically incorrect facts proposed by the Americans for Defense of Freedom, or whatever their name is. Those deny basic facts as the pediatricians have described them to me. I would emphasize also that you have plenty of time. There is no hard deadline that you have to hit to revise the policy. Both of the pediatricians that I spoke with are more than happy to talk with the board in a limited roundtable kind of discussion. I would urge you to take up any issues with them if you have any questions about the biological or psychological facts. And one final point. I've been learning a lot about this particular issue. It's a complex issue. Right here, people are still confused about gender. Who's he? Who's her? I'm confused. I've got 64 years of trying to figure out the right pronouns and so forth and so on, and now I'm all confused. But I'm learning. And I want to offer a resource that's a very useful resource, at least for me it was. It's a simple, straightforward resource. It was on Facebook. It's called Assigned Male at Birth. And it's done by a trans girl who is a cartoonist, which sounds silly, but she encapsulates a great deal of information very graphically. It's very interesting reading. I do have one question that I would like to ask the board. I believe this policy has been in place for a year now. Have there been any problems with it? What's wrong with the policy? Is it working?
Have there been challenges or have there been issues with the policy? It seems to be a pretty factual question. Can you disclose those? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope question. No.
Okay. So there's no episodic requirement to change this that you see at this point?
No.
Thank you. That's all I need.
I'm not going to weigh in on the policy. There has been no episodic incident that would lead us to that.
Thank you.
Candy residents.
Chris DeWitt, Highland Street. I think the policy should stay as it is to go along. Move on.
Carrie LaFlamme, Old Candy Road. I too am concerned about this policy, but I am concerned about what would happen if you repeal it. My wife and I also teach our children about discrimination. We talk about how people and families are different, and that's okay. I support this policy as written. Please do not repeal or revise.
This is Mark. Jacqueline Wilkins, Candia resident. I would like to see just some tweaking done as the speaker.
Jacqueline, what's your address? She's recording
Adams
that.
Road, sorry.
That's okay. Go, please continue.
And I would just like to see, as some of the other parents spoke about, just making sure the parents are notified and not completely repealed, but just fixed up a little for us. That's it, thank you.
Any other residents that would like to speak to this?
Good evening, Susan Young, 334 Deerfield Road. First of all, I want to thank this board for holding this meeting. Over 500 people spoke in March asking you to review the policy as written, and you're trying to do that tonight, as well as over 300 people who submitted a petition to another school board last year asking that this not be done. I personally support local control. Auburn and Hooksett are members of our SAU. They have not found the need to adopt a transgender policy, nor do I believe that they fear losing federal funding. But that really doesn't even matter. Tonight we're here to talk about Candia and what's good for Candia, not what's good for Colebrook, Oyster River, or any other district. It's great to share what other school districts in the state have done concerning this policy, but again, it really doesn't matter. Having said that, I'd like to give to the secretary and the chair of the board 3 documents that were also available last year that didn't seem to make it into the minutes. One pertains to myths and facts about transgender policies. One is a copy of a letter sent to last year's board, and the final is a sample alternative policy if the board chooses to go that avenue.
Halfway.
I'm requesting these documents be attached to the minutes of this meeting. I also agree with Tom that there is no hurry regarding this, as it seems to not even have been an issue, at least this past year. I urge the board to take their time. Please get input from people who are not able to attend tonight's meeting and other people who might not have had the opportunity to be here tonight. So again, I request that these attachments be attached to the minutes of this meeting. Thank you. Can I get the chair and copy?
He's going to get right back to you.
Oh, should I get from
Whatever you want, that's it. Other excuse me, other Candia residents you might like to speak this evening? Oh, Sharon. Okay, you've been very patient. Our visitor from Portsmouth, please.
I'm Jillian Lee, I do live in Portsmouth, and I wanted to come tonight just to talk about briefly what it's like being trans and how the bathroom policy, while it may not seem like a big deal, it really is to us. There's all kinds of people in this world. Some are tall, some are short, some white, some black, some have disabilities, some don't. Some are born male, some are born female, and some are born transgender, maybe 1 to 3% of the total population. Nobody really knows. Because so many of us are just totally in the closet. You would never know that we're even trans. If you are transgender, you know that you're born in a body that doesn't match up with what you feel in your head and your heart, particularly your heart. And it never changes, no matter how hard you try, no matter how old you get, how successful you are in life, no matter how much therapy or counseling you get, no matter whether you pray on it, whether you try to live a perfect life, it doesn't change. You're trans or you're not. And that's it.
Halfway.
Trans people feel their transness, for lack of a better word, differently. Some feel it intensely, some not as much. I know when I was growing up, I didn't feel it as much, so going through school, I was completely in the closet, and no one ever knew I was trans. I never told anyone. But a lot of kids, well, not a lot actually a very few number of trans kids, they feel it so intensely that they don't have a choice about coming out or not coming out as trans. It's not a choice, they have to. It's pretty much come out or it's all over. They have to be their true selves. It's no wonder that the suicide rate among trans kids is so high.
If 30 seconds.
So alarmingly high. They can't live in the body that they were born in, basically. They have to be what they really are. You know, we tell each other that we have to follow our instincts, we have to be our true selves. Well, this is their true selves. So, as far as the bathroom issue goes, one of the scariest things any trans...
Thank you for your input today. I think there's someone behind you, Chris. Were you in line?
Yes.
Please. I won't forget you.
Hi, Sophia Lenins. I live in Derry, and I came here to talk as a transgender person, as a parent, and as an educator. I've taught in both New Hampshire and Massachusetts at public schools and at a university, and I have mentored trans students and been their ally in school systems that were at times for and against them. And I know someone mentioned something about sexual assault in bathrooms, and I want you to understand that for trans people like me, bathrooms are where we face the worst moments of our lives sometimes, and that the thing that changes the tone of that and changes the likelihood of the worst possible scenarios for those situations is clear and consistent support through policy, from administrators, and from the educators. And that's what you need to provide to all of your students, is that kind of support. So I very much support this policy. Thank you.
Chris, did you? Yeah, go right ahead.
Still, High Street. I don't know if it's possible, but I'd like to donate my 2 minutes and 45 seconds so she can get her point across.
Actually, I appreciate your passion for this, Chris, but the guidelines as decided by the board was 3 minutes for your speaking turns.
Interesting that the board had indicated that in the past year there have been no episodic issues with this law in place. What is it then that the current transgender inclusive policy contains that we fear isn't, and more importantly, in the 16 other schools in New Hampshire where transgender inclusive policies have been adapted, has there been any issues reported? And the answer is no. Facts speak louder than fears. And fear is an emotional response, not necessarily predicated on logic, reasoning, or fact. So if some negative outcome has occurred because of the institution of a transgender inclusive policy, please state it. A transgender student has or likely will be seeking medical care through professionals. I'm not a doctor. I haven't gone through years of medical school, but I am a transgender woman. The consensus of the majority of our doctors working together today recognize that being transgender is a real biological and tangible condition. So what about segregating children to a private bathroom? Do we need that? Do we really need that? The human race segregated people by color and ethnicity. Being transgender, regardless of opinion, is a medically tangible and a real thing. Trans kids don't want to be special. They don't want to be different. What they want is the dignity afforded in allowing them to live just like other kids and to be able to do so authentically as who they are within. The issues we do see among the transgender individuals are plentiful when we look at the dangers of segregated children, ostracizing and bullying that happen because of being different. In voting on a transgender inclusive policy, I ask you to consider the facts and not to submit to fears that hold no substance and no validity. Look at the other school districts who have passed the measure. Talk to them. Talk to professionals in the medical field. And most of all, ask questions. Take the proactive step to learn and to thereby, in the process, rule equitably and justly on this measure. Because every child, every human being on this earth matters. Thank you.
Other comments or viewpoints for our board this evening?
Hi, sorry, I wasn't actually planning on saying anything this evening, but I just wanted to address...
Miss, what's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Penny from Chichester. I just wanted to say real quick, someone mentioned how you're going to talk to your children about transgender, and children aren't discriminatory. You know, they're friendly, they're caring, they're kind. If we teach them not to discriminate, they're not going to. If we don't give them a reason to, they won't. And it's just as simple as saying, that woman is wearing a dress even though I look like a man because she was born in the wrong body. And we don't know why yet, but the important thing is that she's trying to fix it. That's really all there is. And after that, it's a kid. You know, they're not gonna care, they're gonna love the person, they're gonna call them she just like they're supposed to, and it's not gonna be a big deal. It's really not gonna be as hard as you might think. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Nancy Brennan. I'm from Ware, New Hampshire. We don't have a policy like this. I applaud your town not only for putting one in, but also for having open discussions and listening. As a teacher of many, many years, I dealt a lot with the gay community. I taught a lot of middle and high school kids when kids were coming out. And today, kids who meet kids who are gay or who know someone who has two moms or two dads don't even think about it. 6, 8, 10 years ago, I would have told you that no transgender students went through my many, many years of teaching, because I really didn't think that much about the term. But we all know now that's not true. Those kids were there when you were in school, and when I was in school, and when I taught school. But they didn't dare be their authentic selves. Thank God that things are changing for these people, and that they can come out in a place like Candia, not just in a place like San Francisco. I urge you, even if you're going to do a little bit of tweaking, to keep this policy for the good of all of your children. I know a woman who has a child who is transgender. That child was diagnosed by 2 doctors. The woman and her husband had no idea what transgender was, and now they are dealing with it with a child who is now 9, who told their parents at about age 4 that they were in the wrong body. And that woman does not have support in her town, and she's going to move. Those things should never happen. I urge you to keep this policy, even if you need to make some small tweaks. Thank you.
On the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Bunker. I'm a resident of Exeter, New Hampshire. I would like to read the text of an email that I sent earlier this week to members of this board. Thank you, first of all, for your public service. In these contentious times, I have a great deal of respect for anyone willing to step into an official decision-making role. I'm writing to you today to urge you to keep in place the policy recently instituted in Candia connecting transgender students. At your hearing on Thursday evening, I predict you will hear some fear. Most fear is innocent, based on simply not knowing about something. We humans are programmed to fear the unknown, and most people know very little about what it is like to be transgender. Unfortunately, sometimes fear is also exploited by fear-mongers who amplify and distort for reasons of their own. You may also hear some of this at your meeting on Thursday. It is crucial to know, however, that not all fear is based on real threat. Sometimes the rustling in the bushes is a bear. Sometimes it is just the wind. In this case, the rustling is the wind. There is no actual threat. Trans folks are harmless, regular people who just want to live their lives in dignity and safety, like everyone else. The first most important thing to learn about trans people is that they are the gender that they say they are. A trans girl is not a boy pretending to be a girl. She is a girl. Moreover, she is a girl who has a complicated and difficult life issue to deal with that places her at risk for bullying, harassment, and violence. Forcing trans students into bathrooms inconsistent with their gender identity constitutes a real threat to those students. So does requiring them to use separate facilities, since this outs them and ostracizes them. The only way to keep these vulnerable students safe is to protect their right to use the facilities consistent with their gender identity, as you have already done. I respectfully urge you to recognize baseless fear for what it is, which can be done, while still respecting the fearful, and keep your excellent and sensible policy in place. Thank you for your attention.
Speak. Getting into
I'll be brief. I spoke at your last meeting. I'm the mother of a trans person who lived to be 20.
Miss, your name?
Oh, my name is Masha.
And where are you from?
And I'm from Manchester.
Wonderful, thank you.
I'm so sorry. And I would just like to ask for you to keep the policy in place. If there is any tweaking, I would also like to add, just something for you to think about, is there are some parents that if their child was to come out to them as transgender or gender variant or non-binary, their parent might throw them out of the house. So I'd just like to make that point. Thank you.
There you are. I saw you get up earlier.
Hi, I'm Olivia from Amherst. I am speaking to strongly encourage that you do not repeal the protections of transgender students in Candia. Doing so would have dire consequences on transgender students at the school and would then spread to other places in the state. Every student deserves to be who they are in school, and that is why protections on trans students are so important. I ask that you are a representative that will protect all students in school, including transgender students. Thank you.
Good evening, Michael Joseph from Nashua. Taught in this SAU way back when in Auburn for 6 years and then Manchester for another 17. I think you have to be aware of the psychological and emotional distress that you might be placing on a child who doesn't feel that they have protections if you repeal this. Thank you.
Additional comment? Viewpoints? Please.
Lynn Shakehouse, Manchester. I'm the campaign manager of Freedom New Hampshire. Founded in 2016, Freedom New Hampshire is a nonpartisan coalition of transgender granite staters united with faith leaders, business owners, law enforcement officials, community advocates, and grassroots supporters working to show that transgender discrimination has no place in New Hampshire. Currently, Freedom New Hampshire is expanding its rapidly growing base of supporters to pass legislation, Trans Bill NH, explicitly protecting transgender granite staters from discrimination under the law. Freedom New Hampshire submits this testimony in support of the retention of Candia School District's transgender and gender nonconforming policy because all students, regardless of their gender identity or sexual orientation, deserve a fair chance to succeed in school and prepare for their future without the fear of bullying, discrimination, and mistreatment. Now more than ever, transgender students need the help of teachers and school administration and the guidance of local school communities and local boards to ensure their full and equal inclusion in schools. Although the Trump administration rescinded important guidance clarifying the rights of transgender students in schools under Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972, the rights of transgender students under Title IX remain unchanged. Transgender youth, like all youth, must be fully included in educational environments with access to the same educational opportunities as all other students and with access to the same school facilities that match the gender that they live in every day. Candia's transgender and gender nonconforming policy helps ensure schools with the Candia School District are adhering to their legal obligations to transgender students. Withdrawal of Candia's transgender and gender nonconforming policy exposes the Candia School District to greater risk of lengthy and costly litigation needed to enforce established legal rights of transgender students in schools. Additionally, Candia's transgender and gender nonconforming policy is a necessary tool that helps improve the experiences of transgender students in school. A 2015 study showed that nearly 3/4 of transgender students in New Hampshire experience some form of mistreatment, such as being verbally harassed, prohibited from dressing according to their authentic gender, disciplined more harshly, or physically or sexually assaulted because people thought they were transgender. Policies that help ensure that transgender students are treated with dignity and respect not only help improve the experiences of transgender students, but help ensure that LGBTQ youth, like all youth, are safe, affirmed, and celebrated in their schools. Thank you.
Sharon DeWitt,
then I would just like to ask the board, rather than just publishing certain information handed by certain people, as was requested at this meeting, that you, if you're going to do it for certain people, you do it for all of the people regarding information submitted tonight to be published on the website. Thank you. So, Mrs. Young asked, well, I think Mrs. Young asked for certain documents to be attached. I think that everybody should be able to have their points of view. If you're going to share someone's points of view, you should share everybody's points of view. So if you're going to put that on the website, I think it's only fair that we see the other information that was sent, because I'm sure there was information sent, I don't remember which one is working, was information sent to you guys via email. So, you know, yeah, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Clark, I can speak to that. We'll have discussion about that at the meeting next Thursday.
Bill that is still active in the House. I believe it's SB 191, but I may be mistaken on the number. That bill is not dead. It is actually still on the table. And we have two of our state reps here, and I would like to invite either or both of them to let us know how that pending gender identity non-discrimination legislation might have some impact on going forward with an anti-discrimination policy.
So let me just make sure, this legislation is specifically dealing with our topic we're talking about tonight.
It is a gender identity anti-discrimination bill, is that correct? I believe it was SB 191.
It is not SB 191.
It's not 191,
I don't know the number.
Is there?
478.
478.
Does that sound better?
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
After the election thing, I've stayed away from law for a little bit.
So currently, as I understand it, that's on the table. I would like to invite either or both of them to describe whether that might not have some impact going forward on this policy, since it does address gender identity.
So as reticent as I am to offer a microphone to a politician,
3 minutes.
It looks like we're going to be doing that.
Kevin Burgo, resident of Deerfield, New Hampshire, representing Rockingham 2, which is Candia, Deerfield, and Nottingham. That House bill has been laid upon the table. It's my understanding at this point it would take 2/3 majority House vote to remove it from the table. And so it's the House of Representatives. Anything could happen any day that we're in session. I cannot predict the actions of the House.
Thank you.
James Spillane, also from Deerfield, representing Candia, Deerfield, and Nottingham. I appreciate the invitation to come tonight. Thank you very much, Dana, for extending that invitation to us. That bill being laid upon the table as it was earlier in the session And us being now close to finishing out this year is probably not going to get pulled from the table. But by laying it on the table, it does allow for us to bring up legislation next year that is the same or significantly similar to the same bill that was laid upon the table, which is why it was laid upon the table and not allowed to be killed.
Excuse me, Representative Spillane?
Yes.
Not all of us play in the legislative sandbox. Could you break down what laid upon the table means for everyone?
Yes. There are 3 states that the bill could have taken once it got to the House floor. It could have passed, it could have failed, and by House rules, if it failed, then in the subsequent year of any particular session, because each one's 2 years, no bill can be brought up as a new bill that is significantly similar to one that was failed that first year. So we would not be able to bring another bill forward to work on in the second year if it had failed. So another option is what's called laying the bill on the table, which means that we don't want to deal with it right now as a body. We put it on the table. It can still be brought off the table in that first year with a vote of 2/3 of the House. Things can be amended to it. It can be then brought up for a vote and passed, but the chances of that happening are very slim. It does allow us, though, to introduce new legislation in the beginning of 2018. We'd actually start drafting that in the fall of 2017 so that it's ready for January 2018. That deals with the same subject matter. It can be identical, but if there were problems that were identified in that bill that we felt were going to keep it from passing, rather than have it killed in the first year, laying it upon the table gives us an opportunity to work on it again.
I understand. Thank you. And thank you for letting me interrupt you. We have, I think everyone has had an opportunity to speak once. Is there anybody who would like an opportunity to speak a second time? Same guidelines will pertain. I saw a couple hands go up. Please.
I'd just like to offer a point of clarification around HB 478. That bill applied to transgender non-discrimination in employment, housing, and public accommodations. It would not have covered non-discrimination in a school setting. My understanding, again, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding is that the legislature cannot make such a bill apply to schools because of the way New Hampshire law operates with school boards setting their own policies. So that's why we're looking to the Candia School Board to do the right thing and affirm and retain this policy. HB 478 would have no impact except sending a message to students.
Thank you. Second round, anybody with additional comments on the Candia policy? I appreciate the information at the state level, but
I just have a quick question.
come right up soon. Want to be sure everybody can hear you.
I just want to make sure I have the facts. Would you say there's over 500 schools in New Hampshire, Dr. Littlefield?
Dr. Littlefield,
How many schools are in New Hampshire?
Do you have any idea?
It doesn't have to be exact.
Is it greater than 500? This isn't trivia.
Yeah,
I would just continue with a point because I'm not sure how many schools.
I think there's over 500. Is that safe to say?
I think you want to come to your point.
Okay. I'm just, is the fact that there are 16 schools who have adopted a transgender policy out of the possibly over 500, is that accurate? Okay.
Yeah, I think we have to be careful with the question. I'm not sure I want to get into the line of questioning, but the line of questioning is, are there 500 schools and 16 districts have adopted it?
Okay.
I can't say that, I can't attest to that 16 districts.
Oh, I heard that from someone else.
I
I thought it was a
that's
fact. I'm
accurate or
sorry.
not. But also most school districts have more than one school.
Right, they might have a
But
bit.
that would be a complete study.
Okay, I was just curious if you knew the answer because I hadn't heard that figure before. Thank you.
Thank you. Second round, anything new that you might want to present? Yes, I see. Come right up. I was never a teacher. Just
Hi, Laura. I just want to point out, I see how everyone has their water bottles, right? One thing I wanted to point out is for some people who happen to be transgender, will actually deprive themselves from that.
Miss, can you take a half a step? There you go. When folks in the back couldn't hear you, I want to make sure they hear your point.
Some people who happen to be transgender will actually deprive themselves from water and drinking if they think in the near future they will have to enter a bathroom that doesn't match their gender to avoid any awkward moments. And that's just something really strong I thought everybody could think about.
Any other?
A couple of words on the bathroom. She's absolutely right. I know a bunch of trans folk who will not go into, will go out publicly, but they won't take a drink because they're so afraid of going into a public bathroom. That's not unusual. As a trans woman, one of the scariest things I can even think of is to have to use the men's bathroom in a busy public space. Talk about not safe. When we go out, all we want to do is use the ladies' room quickly, just get the heck out, and that's it. The kids at your schools, if there are any transgender kids that are actually out, I don't even know if there are. There may not be. It's so few. I mean, it's literally a handful of kids who might be actually have the guts and feel it so intensely that they have to come out as kids. Most of us just hide it. But if they do come out, it's so important that they get to choose whichever bathroom they want to use and not be forced to use one that's going to be a terrifying experience for them, literally. So, I just want to.
Any other new viewpoints, new comments? Second round, please, Mr. Key.
Todd Keating, Northbrook. Just a real quick story and why I think that this transgender is really not a big deal to my wife and I. The way that we raise our kids, we heard about some of the way that our fellow residents did. It's a really quick story. When I was a kid, and I think this is kind of embodies what we're trying to do with our three little monsters at home, is simply, I remember a time I was probably 10 years old and my mom told me that there was a family meeting with my brother and I couldn't wait to find out what this family meeting was about because I was convinced my older brother, who's 2 years older than me, had raised some holy hell and he was going to get it and I got to be part of it. But in reality, that wasn't what it was about at all. My parents sat us down on the steps. We lived in a small house. My mom was shaking. My mom is very quiet lady, doesn't raise her voice and doesn't say any bad words. And my father's the exact opposite. And my mom sat us down and said, basically, we have something to tell you. And we're like, wow, I wonder what this is all about. I guess my brother really didn't get into trouble. And she said, your Uncle John is gay. And my brother and I both looked at each other and we said, no kidding. And we got up and we kind of walked about and said, what's for dinner? And that's exactly what I think this is kind of all about right now. Is I don't think that my kids would have a care in the world if somebody's different than them. I don't have a care in the world if somebody's different than me. And I know for a fact that my wife doesn't have a care in the world that anybody's different than them. So it's just a quick story to tell you that this is really not a big deal. The facts were on the table that there have been no instances of anything negative towards the bathroom policy at our school or any other schools. And for Sue, for fact-checking purposes, because I know you and I go back and forth about this, you can clearly Google, if you prefer, that there are 16 districts, and districts are big with multiple schools within a district that have adopted these policies with 0 instances. It's not schools, it's districts. Thank you.
So this is not like school. I'm not going to make you sit here until 8 o'clock. Okay? But If everyone feels they've had an opportunity to express their opinion or their viewpoint to the school board, then we can adjourn at this time. However, I don't want anybody to feel rushed. Are there any more viewpoints or opinions that anyone would like to express to the school board? Please.
Although I've expressed some things earlier, there are a couple others.
We've forgotten your name already. I'm sorry.
I'm Sarah Bond on Chester Road.
Thank you, sir.
I would like to just mention the statistic that was brought out, that there have been no instances of sexual misconduct by transgender individuals in restrooms. In fact, it opens the door, policies like this have opened the door in stores such as Target, Walmart, which I don't know if they have a policy of it, where people dress up as a transgender person and gain access to the bathrooms. And there are people who have been sexually assaulted this way, and they have been children. There also is a 1972 decision by the Board of Education that does already prevent against discrimination based on sexual preference. So the additional, that's already in place. We already have, teachers cannot discriminate, we have schools cannot discriminate. However, if we add additional, not protections, but additional regulations to the school, we're going to be putting other kids in jeopardy. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you.
Chris DeWitt, Highland Street. We're not talking about Target and Walmart. They have sexual predators. This is children. You know, I just want to make that point.
John Hardy from Chichester. Just like to say that there have been people who dress up as mall Santas and attack kids before too. We're going to ban those next.
I don't believe mall Santas are on our topic for the evening. Let's try to stick to the policy that we're discussing.
Chris Sampson, High Street. I had a few concerns about the policy. I know somebody had mentioned, I think tonight, overnight stays or overnight field trips. That would be something I'd like to see addressed in this policy. Some of my other concerns aren't so much predators. Children aren't going to be predators, but they will be curious. Also, a little bit of clarity on the consistently identifying is something else I'd like to see addressed and a little bit more clarified. That's about it.
So Masha Gaba from Manchester, and I would just like to ask how everybody would feel about having to, name your gender identity, that you would have to stand up, and I would have to somehow prove that I am the gender that I believe that I am, and I'd like you all to try that one for yourselves. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Sharon DeWitt. I just want to make the point, people have mentioned like overnight stays. I guess I would like the board to consider, is the town of Candia more comfortable with a transgender girl sleeping in the bunk room with 3 other boys, or in her dress and her nightgowns or whatever she might wear, than having that transgender girl sleeping with girls? I guess I've heard people talk about the bathroom, and someone mentioned it, and I hadn't even thought of it. Forcing that child, the transgender child, to use the single stall, you are technically outing that child, because we may not know. There are people currently, there are students currently in the Manchester School District, in other school districts. We play those students in sports. We don't know it, it's blended in. But forcing a child to use a separate bathroom is going to out that child and do irreparable harm. Thank you.
something else coming up.
Feel braver this time. I just want to say,
I know.
Wilkins.
Step right up to the microphone.
Jacqueline Wilkins, Adamsburg. I think the valid points from both sides of this controversial issue are exactly the reason why this needs to be thought out more and put to some further review. Everybody has a good time.
Okay, do we have anything new? Any new thoughts? Any new opinions?
I'm not sure if I need an introduction. I'm Nicole.
Introduce yourself. Some of you might not know.
I live here in Candia.
They know you, but...
My buddy Richie over there is going to videotape me. I was hoping that he wouldn't do that because I don't particularly care to be on the news. I've had enough of that in the last year. As many of you know, I will turn for a moment. It won't take a minute. I was the former chair of the Candia School Board. I was on the policy committee, so I wanted to provide a bit of insight as to how this came about. This was not a rush policy. This policy was not rushed in the least bit. This policy came out of Seacoast area schools. It was vetted out by several attorneys, and it was then brought to all New Hampshire school boards by the New Hampshire School Board Association. Matt, our current chair, was our representative, so he was well aware of it, well before I was actually aware of it. This policy in no way, shape, or form suggests in any way that parents of a transgender or gender non-conforming child would not know what that child is doing during the day. It is the fear-mongering that members of our board have put into the community in order to get people to be against this policy. It is incorrect. It is not accurate. Title IX protects sexual orientation, and with that comes gender identity. This is the law. It's not about funding. It has nothing to do with funding, and it's all about the law. And the good doctor misspoke a bit tonight when he said that the recent decision that was announced this week out of Wisconsin would not be important in this. And that was a very, very clear decision. That decision has been sent to the board. Hopefully the board takes the time to read all of that. And like Sharon said, I do hope that all of the emails that you received with regard to JPAD for the past year are included in the minutes, if you're going to include anything at all in the minutes, because obviously that's not required. I've sent you an email. I've spoken out on this policy. I think the most important part about this policy is that the reaction by this community shows that we need this policy. The way that people have attacked each other for simply being who they are, I'm not sure what word I can use when I'm here in a public meeting, but it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And so this policy, I encourage you to keep it. We know exactly what the three of you are going to do. We know that you're going to repeal it. We know exactly what you're going to do, which I think is one of the reasons that there's so few people here tonight. It's disappointing, but please give faith into the process and give faith into being our elected officials. You've taken an oath of office. Please do what you should do. Please keep this policy. Please make sure that this school district is protected against any sort of legal issues in the future. Most importantly, please protect the children. These children need...
Thank you, Nicole, for your comments. Any other input for the board tonight? Yep. Oh, I see a hand back there. Sure.
Still Kelly Lavert of Main Street. Nicole kind of reiterated what my point was. In the last year, us, and I don't mind putting myself in that category, us adults have acted extremely rude, hurtful, bullying, harsh words on both sides to each other. The same us, the same adults that are parents of the children that we think are going to be okay with everything. Okay? We have to look at this as perspective. If we're acting like this, our kids are going to act like that because that's the household they're in. Okay? And just because you passed, or the school board has passed a policy, why is that transgender child going to step inside the school knowing they can use the bathroom that they identify with because adults say it's okay when that child still has to go to school with the children every day? It's not the adults that are going to be doing anything. It's going to be the children. And I think tonight and in the last year we have seen in this town adults acting like children.
Sarah, additional comment on the policy. You're fine, and maybe not our behavior.
My name is Judy Slott. I live on Libby Road. I was at the previous meeting. I was at the school board meeting last month. And again at this meeting, this is the third time I have heard words like that people were being attacked, that people were rude, they were hurtful, they were bullying. I felt that the people who were here tonight, whether they were pro or con, this discussion were polite, were respectful. I didn't hear bullying. I didn't hear people being attacked. I didn't hear people being rude. I didn't hear people being disrespectful. And I really take exception to those kinds of words being used. They were used at the last meeting. People were upset at the meeting a year ago because they were not heard. They felt that they were not heard. That's why we were here, because people felt they weren't heard. And at the school board meeting, I thought people were respectful, and yet you still heard people describe the meeting as being rude and disrespectful. I take exception to that. I think that people here were polite. They heard ideas that they did not agree with it, but at least they listened. I feel that we have a school board, we have people who are committed to this school, we have a staff of professional educators. Some of these people have given their lives to educating children. I think that if we had issues of transgender that came up in this school, we have a professional staff that could very sensitively handle any of these discussions. I would have full faith in the staff of the school to treat any child that came in with any gender issues carefully, sensitively, and do the best that they could for this student. And I think we have what we need right now. And I don't think we need to make all kinds of rules, because making those rules said that our staff is not capable of handling this issue. And I think we are capable of handling this issue. I think we have the dedicated staff that has given their life to children. I'm still in the hole.
I'm sure you are.
I'm very surprised I'm going to go ahead and say this, but Judy, I agree with you. I agree with all that you just said, except for one piece, one really important piece, and since I'm supposed to address the board, I'll go back to Judy.
And the policy.
And the policy. Yeah, I'm talking about the policy.
Thank you.
Don't you worry about it. I agree 110% that we have, and I've said this a million times in public, we have the best staff there is. This team is absolutely phenomenal, and this team is going to take incredibly good care of all of our children. But there's a case out of Maine, and Dr. Littlefield is very, very, very familiar with this case. And up in Orono, Maine, there was a family who has twin boys. One of the boys transitioned in grade school. Everything was fine. The school did not have a policy. The school allowed the child to use the restroom that was consistent with the gender identity. All of a sudden, there was a child who moved into the district. And you can go ahead and Google this. Matt, you already have this information, but for the new board members, go ahead and get the information. I can send it to you if you'd like, this court case. All of a sudden, a student from outside of the district moved in, caused issues, and because there was not a policy in place, the school was forced to, all of a sudden, discriminate against that transgender child and force that child to use a single-stall bathroom. Now let's just be clear about this. If we have a cisgender child and we allow that child to use a bathroom that has multi-stalls, We must allow all children to use that. Does that make sense? That should make sense. So if there is a transgender child, you cannot tell that child, this is Title IX, this is clear, this is discrimination. If you tell that child they have to use a single stall while allowing cisgender children to use whatever they want. You can allow a cisgender child, if they are uncomfortable, to use a single stall, but you cannot discriminate against any child and force them to use a single stall. Hopefully that is clear. The board attorney, a year ago, as you well know, recommended that we adopt this policy. The good superintendent was all for this policy as well a year ago. Hopefully that still stands. Hopefully your educational leadership team, you will take into account their advice and their thoughts. You have a lot of teachers here. You can speak with the teachers, you can speak with the students. There's been no issues.
Lisa Bunker from Exeter, New Hampshire. Thank you for an opportunity to speak to your section of mine. I neglected to mention before that I came tonight in my capacity as a concerned citizen and as a transgender woman. When I was growing up in the 60s and 70s, there was no question that I could have come out in the schools that I went to. We didn't have policy, we didn't have societal understanding, there was no tolerance. It was just out of the question. It's gotten a lot better. I am also here in my capacity as a parent of a gender variant child. When my child came out in high school, everything was fine. The reaction that I loved the most was from a friend on Facebook who said, cool, lowercase k, no punctuation. That was how much excitement there was to have this revelation about a friend. Cool, anyway, I was talking about this other thing. So the kids are okay. Most of the kids are okay. Yes, they're fine. When a student comes out as bisexual, as gay, as trans, as gender variant in some way, in my experience as a recent parent in school districts, most of the other students are fine. There are a few other students who might, as in the story of Nicole Maines that you just heard, there might be one student who causes trouble. So I want to add a voice to what you just heard, that having an actual policy in place is so important. I would also suggest that you may have trans students in your school district already that you know about. You may also have trans students in your district that you do not know about. They might be living in stealth. And if this policy is now rescinded, I'm very concerned about the message that would send to those kids and to their families. Trans people feel safer than we used to. We do not feel totally safe, either on our own behalf or on the behalf of our children. To rescind this policy now would send a terrible message, an inconsistent message to those vulnerable, misunderstood, and often vilified students who only want to live their normal lives as normal kids, and do sports and make friends, and do well in school, and prepare for their futures as healthy adults in our 21st century society. Thank you.
I'm not seeing anybody popping up. No, we all had up. Oh, there's someone popped up. Okay. Everybody gets a chance who wants one.
Cindy Bradshaw, Main Street. I want to use the policy, and I want to be a core value number one. I want to be core value number one, which I believe we read probably a year ago from Kim Royer in regards to this, and it says schools are for students. All interaction with them must nurture their social, emotional, and academic growth. It is our responsibility to accept all students and treat them with kindness and respect. We are tolerant and non-judgmental. Our decisions are based on what's best for them. We take responsibility for ensuring the success of our students despite the challenges they may face. If we put in a single-stall bathroom, we are going to diminish the pride and the hopes and the individuality of a person who's transgender.
Very quick, but clearly...
I know who you are, but she doesn't.
Carla Penfield, Jane Ryan.
clearly we continue to have a difference of opinion. I don't see any need to rush forward with this. The state of New Hampshire decided to put it on the table. We survived here perfectly well for many years without this policy. My suggestion is that the school board slow this down. I don't think we're in any position right now to institute a policy. I think we need more discussion. I think the school board needs more time to digest everything that they've heard here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional viewpoints or thoughts? Are you coming up or just changing chairs? All right. Well, seeing none then, we will go ahead and adjourn our meeting, hearing. Matt?
Clark, I just wanted to mention that we received emails over the past couple weeks, and just wanted to thank some of you, I think, that are here tonight for sending those. The board appreciates the perspective, and we do have that information, and are going to be looking through that information. I just wanted to acknowledge that we are in receipt of those. We appreciate that. There's some people that aren't here tonight that also sent emails, so I want to just acknowledge that the board received those. And that it's information that's very helpful to us. And so we will have deliberation at our school board meeting next Thursday night. So, that's all.
Thank you. So in the true spirit of Candia, for our visitors here, Miss Lindsay, would you hop up? And would you show everybody how to properly fold up one of these chairs? Because they're hard if you don't know how to do it. Turn around, you put your foot on the back, and hold on to this seat. So if you wouldn't mind folding the chairs to help out our staff, and just you can put them against either wall. Thank you, Senator. Thank you all for coming out this evening.